Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Diamond Rivera of Diamond Rivera Films, and we have another special event tonight. We have a special guest tonight, a person I've known for many, many years on live discussions with Diamond. I really do love to bring guests on, not just from the bachata community or the Zouk community, Kizomba, but also the salsa community. And a person that I have here that I really definitely hold dear to me, and a person I've known for many years, is the one and only Philadelphia's own Rob Grisko.
Yeah, much respect always to you, Diamond. You're a legend in my eyes, man. I've been watching you when I was a kid. 17, I was watching you, East Side Edition, even before that. Heartbreak Boys, you get what I'm saying? So,
Wow, man. I mean, yeah, we definitely go back. And for me, it's like I am so thankful that I can have this platform and be able to talk to people like yourself because we definitely know, especially this time with COVID going on and with our community really being one of the ones hit the hardest in terms of studios, in terms of socials, in terms of events in general. Because again, this is a type of art form that we have that it really depends on connection. It really depends on that socialization aspect. So me having this platform and having you on here is just it feels like if it's just us face to face even. So having you on here is amazing. We're definitely going to get to a lot of the stories of how we met for sure. We're going to tell some old stories as well. But and before you really get to the heart of things of where you first started, kind of give us an idea of who Rob Grisko is presently.
all right, all right. We actually, right now, as of right now, I do just little privates here and there. I'm a salsa bachata instructor out in Philadelphia / New Jersey. I work a lot with Art in Motion, if you have ever heard of Art in Motion. Darlin Garcia is one of my many role models and somebody that I've grown up watching, not only watching, but also learning from. I've been with him for about 10 plus years under his direction and wing. So, it's sticking with him, still being with him and doing some things here and there. I am a father as well.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a little girl, and as well as my girlfriend has we have kids there as well as for the house. So there's 3 total always at our house. So it's a blessing, man, to be able to still be able to do dance. I'm learning every day. I'm still in the studio learning every day, which is a great thing, adjusting to, all this new crazy stuff that's happening, but it's fun, man. It definitely is fun. It's like going to a new hip hop class and just learning something different, So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to keep up right now with the flow with everyone else, trying to get it going. I'm trying to keep up with all the young kids.
Oh my God. And, no, it's seriously, it really amazes me because even with COVID going around now with the restrictions in a lot of places in Jersey and Philadelphia and New York, the restrictions are getting easier. I'm happy at least to find that, we still have studios that are open and studios, but besides being open, doing it safely because it is unfortunate that we do have studios that are no longer around. The studios we once loved and we once went to, they're no longer around. We can't have those amazing moments there. And, I really do hope in the future that these places can reopen or we now create new memories at new events. And, just remember those that were in the past. And again, I'm glad that you're able to do privates. And I'm hoping, of course, you and your family are staying safe.
Yeah, everything's virtual as of right now. Everything's really virtual, but we just keep it for, how Darlin's always professional. You gotta have the aim backdrop and everything. So,
oh no, absolutely, absolutely. And just as you know, before we really get started with your beginnings, as you've probably seen in the interviews, we're going to have already people chiming in. They have their comments, so you'll kind of see it as real time. Like
absolutely.
the interview we just had with Mayla last night. She's
Amazing.
already yes,
Amazing.
again, another dancer who's going through her own journey as we speak. And just to have support from you and others as well. Another person, Mike Movimiento Garcia,
And that is my boy, that Mike. Much love. That is someone that always has respect in the scene from me. That is my boy.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it is that even during these times where we're really not so close together, to see messages like that and realize that the same people we grew up with are there for us, with or without an event to go to. They do definitely respect. Even your boy Douglas Ortiz here.
Douglas. Yeah, no, you know what? I saw Douglas, believe it or not. I was still on Art in Motion. I just started Art in Motion Pro Team, and it was my first Congress outside of the state at Houston. And I believe his partner was Danielle at the time. Danielle De Leon, I believe it is.
Yes.
I believe that was his partner at the time. And man, the routine they had was so fire. I went up to him after Houston. I don't know if he remembers, and I gave him much respect for that performance because watching, Douglas and, Darlin, Eddie Torres, Grizel, all these people growing up, man, and being able to like go back and still be able to watch their content that they're pulling out now. It amazes me because it's never the same. They're still pulling out new creative material. So again, and they're still learning as well. I'm sure they're taking classes and training hard as well. So it's always good to go back and see what your friends in the past have grown into, and the community and the hold they have on it. Douglas, I know, is doing something as well, huge with the community. Bringing some things to light that have always needed to be brought to light.
Yeah.
Me personally in the scene, being around Darlin, all those people, I've been able to stay away from that because he's always been able to pull me to the side away from that. But you've seen it. We've all seen it being back in the day, but it's good to see that, those people are doing like well for themselves. We didn't follow those paths, and he's creating a platform to stop certain things from happening and make it more safe for our students, not just our artists, because our artists is a part of the problem, to be honest.
Absolutely. And then we can get somewhat into that in general. But, again, like it's people like him, it's people like Carlos,
love Rob.
that we really realize that our community is really solid and really unified. There's always going to be good and bad in any community there is. But it's people like yourself, people like me, people like Mike and others that have been around a very long time, and we understand the responsibilities that we have.
Yes, sir.
We understand, it goes far beyond dance. And we have to realize that in this day and age, especially with the interview I had a few days ago with a company, Sinfiltro TV in UK, it is about a lot of the new artists, the new generation artists, because I don't consider you a new generation artist, in my opinion. For me, you're a person that we grew up around the same time frame, but the key thing is that you are really still pushing content, still to this day, because a lot of artists sometimes, especially what we're going through, it's so easy for them to be lax, but you don't realize there's always someone coming. There's always a new artist. There's always a new dancer. There's always a new trend.
Yeah.
So, so it's definitely important that we have people like you that's still pushing that content forward. So now for that, I would love to now transition into, let's understand Rob when he first started dancing. Where did that influence come from? How did it begin?
Okay, so believe it or not, my first ever salsa social was actually at the Atrium. Barbara Capaldi actually owned the Studium in Pennsauken, New Jersey. It was my uncle's birthday party, so he actually took me out and told me that I was able to go. I was underage. It wasn't a club. It was a social at a studio. So I was able to go. He said, just come out for my birthday party. We're going to have a good time. So I got to go out. And Barbara actually pulled me out on the dance floor and had me dance merengue with her. So as far as dancing merengue with her, she pulled me aside after the dance and she was like, hey, why don't you start taking classes? Why don't you just come to the studio and just start taking classes? So, I ran home to my mom. I was like, I met Barb at the studio. She's asking me personally to come like take classes, pulled me aside and everything, and just asked me to be a part of her beginning team, performance team to start. And I was all for it, man. I was in high school. I was playing sports. My mom didn't want to she wanted to keep me off the streets out of trouble. And, it was just a great thing to have. Sorry, I had Darlin messaging me right now.
No worries.
I'm about to turn the notifications off real quick. All right. All right. So actually, after that social, I actually started taking lessons at Atrium for about 6 months. And then Darlin came to one of our showcases and saw me at the advanced performance team for Barbara. And he pulled me aside and asked me to do a couple performance teams. He needed some guys. And, don't worry about it. Just come help me out and we'll take care of you. And he took me under his wing, man. And it was the best 8 months that I've ever had with a company, because I was taking not only classes from Darlin, but I was taking classes from Mike Andino. So Mike Andino was a big start to my intermediate part to my career. Estilo, if nobody's ever heard from, Mike Andino, Estilo from Philadelphia as well. Much respects to him. I started with him with performance teams with Darlin as well, because Art in Motion was running out space actually at a Estilo studio at the time. They didn't have their own studio. So Darlin was teaching classes under, Estilo, but as Art in Motion, the whole thing, whole 9 yards. So I got to do the best of both worlds. I got to be a part of Estilo and a part of Art in Motion, because at the time they were together. You know what I mean? So I was learning, and at the time they had Yuri down here. So it was Yuri, Noel. You had Kat. You had all these people that were teaching, Liz. And I just couldn't get away from the fact that I had multiple people that not just were amazing dancers, but that were competing for world titles every year. And that's the type of training I needed. I needed that competitive atmosphere that was just going to take me over. And all right, I'm after school, but I need to go dance, because like I got a competition coming up, or I got a performance coming up, and I want to be the spotlight. I need to be the spotlight. You know what I mean?
No.
So started with Darlin, finished the performance classes. Then he asked me to be a part of the semi-pro team, which is traveling. Had a great time with that. Did that for about 2 to 3 months, and then he asked me to do both semi-pro and art motion pro team, so I can transition between both. And it was kind of like a trial run, because that team was crazy at the time. The choreographies that they were doing, So I couldn't keep up at the time. So it was like certain shows I could be in, certain shows, you just got to sit out for at the time. And I knew, you understand it. You know what I mean? Yes. You're just growing as a dancer. You got to understand it. Was with Darlin on the pro team for about 10 years plus, decided to move to Arizona, lived to Arizona for about 5 years. When I was in Arizona, a guy named Sean Sally was running the Paragon over there in Tempe. So I think at the time, Lawrence and Yana and Corey Thomas, a lot of those people were taking classes and a part of them, that studio. So I got to be able to bring Dominican Bachata over there, because at the time there was just like, the scene was no but really bachata over there. I was like, all right, this is what I know, this is what I learned. Let me see if this blows up here. And you know what? It took off for a little bit, and then it kind of faded away. And I ended up having the baby and moving back to Jersey.
Gotcha.
So when I moved back to Jersey, I tried back with Art in Motion again, and then everything just, family and everything, I had to focus on me for a little bit. Had to get away from dance, get away from that for a little bit, and things have gotten so much better. I took a little break. Now I've just been doing little posts here and there, doing little privates here and there. And it's all about getting back into the passion that I first had for it. It became like a job or a career, and I was just like, man, I'm doing this every day. I don't even want to go to social anymore.
Yes, you're saying something so like important, because there comes a time with many dancers when you've been in it for so long, and you don't want to say you lost it or you lost the love or the passion, but there are moments in your life when you have to decide what's more important.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that as well, for sure. And it's really important to understand that too. Like when you're deciding those things, walking away doesn't mean that you're just giving it up. You can take a break and focus on yourself to build yourself back up to be a better dancer, because you have more focus coming back in. Your focus may have not been there at the time, but it's there now. You know what I mean? So you're gonna come out a little bit more complete trained dancer as well, because you're gonna be more there. So that was a big part of it. And also, like, going to congresses, there was a point where I used to sit there and just rave about the shows. Everyone used to go, all right, Santa Rico is going to be there, Yamalays. Everyone had to watch the shows. It was packed. You couldn't even, everyone was standing in the back. You couldn't even videotape. It was crazy. Now, you know, a lot of artists, including myself, I've been guilty of it too. Right after the shows, they'll go upstairs, get changed, and just hang out until the social starts. You get
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But a lot of the artists that are not performing will sit upstairs knowing that the performances are going on, and they just want to hang out and party until the social
Mm.
starts.
Hmm.
And that's where I feel like we've lost creativity as well.
And that is a very, very, very even. Let me bring up fucking Carlos Anthony. Say it again for the people in the. And this is again like what you're saying. We're laughing, but it's true.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that we have to realize, like, hey, since we do have this time that we don't have these socials popping up everywhere, these congresses happening, it is important to address the concerns that dancers like us have, that we've always had, but at times we didn't feel maybe our voice was really going to be heard by the masses.
Absolutely.
Because we know that when we were at congresses, nobody wanted to deal with drama, even though there was drama periodically, but nobody intended to go to an event to say, hey, I don't like this.
Absolutely.
It was always about having fun. But even going back to what you're talking about in your beginnings, that is where, because I remember we met so many years ago, but I definitely remembered you again when you were doing your work in Arizona, because I remember saying, like, wasn't he just in Philly? Mm-hmm. And then I was like, and then I saw you in Arizona, and I've heard of people like Lawrence Garcia, from my boy Ed Amaya, who is from Phoenix, who works with him himself, yep. And realizing, because I didn't know that, I saw you teaching bachata, but I didn't know that was the purpose there. And my question is, what is your nationality actually? Or what do you identify with?
So I'm half Puerto Rican, half Ecuadorian.
Gotcha. See, and again, people have to understand is that I think the misconception is when a person who teaches Dominican bachata has to be Dominican. That's not true. And in reality, it's point blank, because I've met many people who are Dominican who don't even know how to dance at all.
Absolutely.
But and no matter what, when dance, a person that takes it seriously, that does the correct training and takes their time and really just like goes for it for a long time, not being a short-term teacher, because we know there are people that literally can take a few classes out of a month, and now they're teaching. Yep. And that's the biggest thing. That's also another reason why I think the creativity.
Oh, man.
Yes. That's
for sure. That's a big problem. No, listen, and that's a thing. Like a lot of these students that are jumping into teaching, I never have an issue with people growing, even teaching. Listen, do what you're gonna do, but realize that you're taking money away from true artists that really trained to teach this. Do you understand? Like they put their hard-earned money, just like you did, 10 years plus into this. I believe I didn't teach my first class till about maybe my 7th or 8th year into dance. And it was DC Capitol Congress. I only had to fill in for Darlin because he decided he couldn't. He had to go to Connect. It was the same weekend as another Congress, and he split up the team. So I ended up teaching with Liz in that weekend. It was the first time I ever taught, and he threw me in there, and I was like stuck up because it was like, you know what I mean? It's a huge Congress, but he just knew that I was ready because I waited for 8 years to do it. I waited. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I feel like when students jump into things, I don't mind it at all. I believe wholeheartedly, if you're a great dancer and you have something to teach the next person, teach them. Teach them. But if you have a full-time career and this isn't what you do, don't take it away from the true artists that really do this.
Absolutely. I agree 110%, because it's so much different when you hear it from a teacher saying this, from a person who's performing, from a person who's really been through the ropes and really has trained, because it is a person like Darlin that I personally met over a decade plus ago when I was performing in Philly, when I was doing the Heartbreak Boys. I remember performing in that time. And I remember this. I remember a quick story. It was Darlin, it was Uriel when they were together in Art in Motion. And I remember I performed with the Heartbreak Boys, and it was actually my first time ever meeting them. And I fell during the performance. And literally, like, I fell and I popped myself back up, kept going like it was nothing. But I remember Darlin coming to me. He said, "It was good, but what about that fall?" And
Yep.
the way he said it wasn't in the sarcastic tone. He was like, "You know, you're gonna have to fix that next time I see you."
Yeah.
And it was like that was the adulting of, yeah, you messed up and you thought it was cool, but these are people here who take this so much serious, and you really have to understand the responsibility you have, because as we are performers, it is not easy to get on the stage time and time again, city after city, state after state, or like yourself, going from Philly or the New Jersey area and going all the way to Arizona. You know,
Yeah.
it definitely takes a lot of responsibility, and it's amazing to me that you were able, when you said about you working with Darlin Garcia and working with Estilo and Michael Andino, because especially in New York, those things were kind of taboo of you working with two different schools at one point.
Yep.
And that for me was always an issue, because it was a lot of the teachers and directors saying, if you're working with me, you're working with me solely. And most of the time their reasoning was because I don't want our schedules conflicting, and then you have to decide
Absolutely.
who you want to perform with. But having that opportunity like you had to be able to train with both, you were learning even more at a faster rate.
Yeah, and it was more of also keeping my mindset not closed. Between Mike and Darlin, they've always been two people to push people to grow in different directions. So
Mm-hmm.
if they feel the best path for you is to go somewhere, they'll push you in that direction. So with having teaching or learning from both of them at the same time, when I was going to congresses and certain things like that, they never held me to doing one class or this and that. They were like, all right, listen, here's the schedule. You got 6 hours today. Boom, 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 boom. These are the circled classes. You got to take them.
Mm-hmm.
He never tried to say, you shouldn't go take classes from La Luna or Noel. Go try it out. You know what Darlin used to say? He said, if they belong here, they always come back. You know what I mean? If they go and they feel like that's not the training for them, that they felt better somewhere where they were, they always come back to where they feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So if they felt like that was the best place for them, then who is he to hold them back? Because you want a couple dollars? That one person, he could find someone else with new marketing, and he's not going to hold that person's training back. Everybody's, built for a different instructor.
Exactly. And again, I think you had an amazing, really a start of your career, because you worked with Barbara Capaldi. Then you had Darlin was able to see you and to see something in you and invite you into his space. And then also working with Mike Andino. So, for those three people specifically, I give them major props, major respect, because again, dancers come and go. And
Absolutely.
not having that moment of somebody actually seeing you and actually paying attention to you, it shows that it's fate. Everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you really taking that time of training, because a lot of people are not in it for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are not going to wait the 7 to 8+ years just to be able to teach.
Absolutely. I completely understand that. Never would ever expect anybody to wait that long. I just felt that was that's where I was, and it took me that long to get where I was to feel comfortable. Because when I was going into workshops, I'm not only trying to take the workshop, I'm trying to understand how they're teaching. When I was taking Eddie Torres workshops, how is he teaching? How is he putting it across? What analogies are they using so that people understand and grasp the concept?
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
because it takes you also your mental state. You're actually in a career or in a world that a lot of the people you're learning from are older than you.
Mm-hmm.
So evidently you're not realizing it, but you're really learning to grow up a lot faster.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you're learning that if you mess up in a routine, or if you don't make this rehearsal, then you don't perform. You don't reap the rewards you sow.
Speak it.
And it's true, because again, as we get older, to be honest, as we get older in this career, for the people who have been in the dance world since they were teenagers and going up, you realize like it's either you're going to be a social dancer or you're choosing to perform on the stage. And that is the two worlds that you have to configure out, because as a social dancer, because like you said, you once was a person that trained and you were on the stages, or you were a spectator watching these performers and saying, I want to do that.
Absolutely.
So then now being on that stage, now it's vice versa. Somebody else is looking at you and saying, man, I want to do that. You know,
that's how, and that's why I always think of, we should always be learning. Because if we're pushing a younger generation, how are we going to push them if we're staying still or stagnant? We got to continue to learn and grow, even from them. Younger people, you know, they're the ones that are, you know, it's what we're adapting to their liking, is what I'm trying to get across, pretty much. You know what I mean? So whatever they're doing and what's into them right now, all the OGs, all the originals, we're adapting to it. And if you don't, then you're not, right now, you're just not in. It's not happening. And if you don't adapt, you're not going to learn. Continue to learn and continue to, you know, be open and creative with what you're doing as an artist.
No, absolutely. And again, you know, I really do appreciate that we can have this discussion, because these discussions, they usually happen with amongst dancers privately.
Absolutely.
So, where everybody kind of says, wow, I think exactly the same like you, but actually having a platform like this where our messages are going to be talked about publicly and honestly, but respectfully, you know, it means a lot. It definitely means a lot. Like the fact that you even went from your teaching to right now being in your car doing an interview with me, how organic that is and how you actually appreciate.
Yes.
You know, it's not always about being in your house, having the perfect setup and, you know, strategically placing the camera places. No, this is truly how it is. This is truly how it's supposed to be.
Absolutely.
I really am thankful that we can talk. And even going back, so I remember I was doing the Heartbreak Boys with Starlight Dance Studio. I transitioned myself and I had a guy group. I was with a guy group. And I remember we would travel. And I remember for me, that was the first time that I was getting introduced to all places of the US with Starlight, but it was really when I was with that guy group, I started really building the foundation and the relationships with people like yourself, people like Charlie Garcia, people like Diamond Rivera. And it was moments, like you said, you had congresses like Philly Salsa Fest, New York Salsa Congress, but one specific event that I hold extremely dear to my heart for me is the Connecticut Salsa
Connecticut.
Fest.
Always. Connecticut. That's
Connecticut by Luis Lopez and Luz Otero. For me, that really was, and still for me, is one of my favorite congresses, because it truly felt like a real a stepping stone, but a reunion for everyone. Because again, you know, New York Congress is special, but it was expensive. Like to go to these hotels paying $200-300, it's not easy.
It was.
Going to places like Connecticut was a lot more affordable. But
at the time, at the time we were actually we were kids. We were just kids, so we're asking our parents for this money, you know, to stay at these $100 hotels, and they're like, "I'm not even going on vacation."
Yeah, you know? It's true, and it's like for me, like to see that we were able to create a bond that still, you know, really stands the test of time. And still presently, that means a lot, because when we met in Connecticut Salsa Fest, you know, you even, I mean, I'll let you tell a story, but briefly, like you reminding me when it was me, you, Matthew, Charlie, Eddie Torres Jr., Caitlin Rodriguez, other dancers, when we were all younger, but we were hungry, but we were basically doing what the legends were doing.
100%.
Because, you know, even though we respected them, we realized like, hey, sooner or later we want to become those same people.
Exactly.
And we, you know, building. I mean, I'll let you tell that story, because you definitely told me, especially But from what you remember those times, what were they like?
Man, when walking into like Connecticut Congress, like you brought up, that is definitely, yeah. Like CT made that connection. Always, man. Going walking into that Congress, the fact is they always had a kids room. They always
Hmm.
had a room just for the kids to be in. You know what I mean? When we were growing up, so all of us were in there at one time, but then when Salsa was playing, man, and the legends were in the room, we were always in the big ballroom. And what we
Hmm.
were doing is we were always sitting in the corners. Charlie, Matthew, you got big names. Robert was there at the time. Um, Multiple people. I believe your whole East Side edition was there actually at the time. It
Yeah,
wasn't just
absolutely.
you. Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
just you. And you're just we would all just sit in the corner and just listen to the music, live bands, and just footwork battle that.
Yes.
We would just footwork right in the middle and just show each other footwork, and it was just the best time because we would just let go and just it was like a challenge, and everyone's just doing things against each other. And now I just feel like it's the challenges are so separated. Like when we challenge each other, everything's separated. We're never together and like, all right, well, you did this, so let's do this and add that onto this. I mean, at Congresses, I do still see it happening with like Eddie Torres and them doing footwork, bringing the whole crowd together, doing a little
Hmm.
footwork together. But I feel like those are the moments that I miss at Congresses, like getting together when the whole room is doing a footwork or like everyone gets in a circle and people are just going off. You know what I mean? Like I miss those moments. I feel like things have kind of drifted away from those times, but which are perfectly fine because I feel like the talent and the aggression in training nowadays, it's like keep up because if you don't, you're behind.
Yes, that what you just said, to be honest with you, is a sentiment that myself and a lot of others agree with. We all have our different experiences. What we realized, for me, I had to realize from doing this from the early 90s and growing up in this, was that there was always people, there's always generations that had their most important figures. We had the people from the 70s and the 80s and then the 90s and then the 2000s and the 2010s. And you
Absolutely.
realize every generation evolved. The same dancers you remember seeing at Connecticut during those times, some of them are no longer around
Yep.
because life will not just throw you a curveball, but it will make you realize there are moments when you can do this and there's moments when you have to step away.
Yeah. Absolutely. Agreed. 100%. I've had those moments. The thing about it is sometimes you don't realize when you have to step away.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you feel as if the dancing is what's getting you away, but it's actually pushing you deeper sometimes. So,
Mm.
so you got to keep continuing to understand. All right, let me separate myself just to a point where, sorry, just to a
No, no
point
worries.
where, separate myself just to a point where I'm not detached from dance, but I could just focus on myself, building myself into the person where I feel comfortable, and I'm not hanging on to dance as a crutch. I'm hanging on to it because
Yeah,
that's my passion. That's what I love to do. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Do you understand?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true because again, like you've been doing this a very long time and you realize that even though you're dancing, you're still going through your own battles outside of dancing.
Yep.
You realize that life isn't all fun sometimes. These performances are great, but also there are things you need to handle within yourself, your personal life as well, because dance is a part of your life. It is not your life,
Absolutely.
you
Agreed.
know. And for me, I would love to know because you have had that experience of working in Arizona. How do you feel? Did you get a chance to understand the dance scene, and did it really feel different from where you were back home?
All right. Yeah. So the dance scene was definitely different from back home. When I first came to Arizona, I felt as if I feel like in a time in dance, I feel like you've gone through it too,
Hmm.
where teams would group together and not dance with anyone else.
Okay. Yeah.
So I felt like at the time when I first moved out there that people were already set where they were, and that's where they were. They didn't want to take classes from anyone else. I was new coming into the game. I was like, let me not even try. You know what I mean? But Sean actually brought me on, and he showed me a different side to it. And Arizona is one of the most welcoming states to dance at. I saw from when it was nothing on the map. They had never had a Congress. I saw it from that to where it's at now. Brandon, Odom, Lawrence Garcia, Edamaya, Corey Thomas. Those are the people that are growing Arizona into a group as a whole. You know, that community has grown so much. I did start Dominican bachata there. I did bring just a little bit of taste there, but it did disappear. So where it's at now is all Ed, all Lawrence, it's all Brandon. Whatever I did there left because it's a new group of people, a new vibe. It's a new generation there. You know what I mean? So when I was there, it was all love. It was literally just they were in groups of teams, and I felt as if they didn't want to learn anywhere else. But you just got to learn. You just got to keep those relationships healthy. As long as you respect everyone's boundaries as an instructor and as what they're doing, and don't cross those boundaries and down them, then yeah, everyone's cool with everybody. That's the way it should be anyway. You should never tell anybody that another person is teaching wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree. But then also, I think the issue sometimes can be that the saturation of so many people becoming teachers.
Absolutely.
But also not when certain students can honestly see someone and say, how did they become a teacher?
Absolutely.
And it's funny to think about, but it's our reality is that we have a multitude in the U.S. alone. Philadelphia, New York, Connecticut, Boston areas. We have some amazing teachers. We have like some of the most phenomenal teachers like Darlin, who he catapulted our emotion, especially through the competition world. Because people have to understand there's a difference between performing at a Congress on a Saturday night or Friday or Sunday than going to the World Latin Dance Cup, the World Salsa Summit, and performing for a trophy, performing for not just bragging rights, but to say recognition of I represented my state.
Absolutely.
And we won.
Absolutely. And it's not only that, you also got to keep in mind every year there's going to be a new champion trying to come in. There's going to be there's going to be. So, I also wanted to see if we can get into that too. Well, maybe we'll talk about that. You already know I did see you got into the interview in UK about how promoters, are hiring certain people and certain instructors because of return on investment, but not giving opportunity. You were fighting for opportunity for these new generation people to come up. Absolutely. And I completely agree with that in that aspect as well. I do feel as if a lot of these people do promote these one huge big artists. And back in the day, what I remember is I was going to New York because they had Eddie Torres, they had Yamale, they had Santa Rico, they had loaded workshops of so many people that were coming through. It was like, how can I not take workshops for all 6 hours? If I sit down, I'm losing out. You know what I mean? If I sit down, I'm losing out. But now I just feel like, and this is not one specific, just certain ones that I've been to the last couple of years, I've felt like, all right, well, they have a workshop on Saturday. They have two workshops on Sunday, and I'm good, because they're hiring one or two big artists for return on investment for a huge product instead of a return on investment for the knowledge that their students will get.
Absolutely. Because it is true. And coming from yourself, who really is right now an active dancer, you've seen it. So what I'm saying on the other platforms is not just a made up story.
No, it's fact.
This is I've seen it. The thing is, promoters from especially overseas, if they only know the big names and nobody's giving a voice for the newer generation, I can't blame them for not hiring people they don't know.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. You can't blame them for not doing it, because again, they are trying to get a return on investment. They are doing a business plan. They are doing this for a reason. It's, they got into it for the community, and they do love the community, but they are a promoter and they do need to make their return as well. But just also keep in mind, You know, these people that are paying to go to your events, you know, you would have a huger group or a bigger group. Like New York, I remember I couldn't even stand in the ballroom. Like people were dancing on the carpet.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? Like, and it was because of you had every single big name social dancing at a work. Like it wasn't just the fact that they're teaching workshops. It's you had multiple talented trained dancers teaching, whether it was Ama Latina.
Yeah.
You know, a lot. I haven't heard that. You know, Ama Latina is a huge bachata, you know, inspiration from when I started because they were a mix between the Dominican and the start of sensual,
Hmm.
kind of with their, you know, world Latin dance and veracity, of course. Veracity, you can't forget Cat.
Yeah, absolutely, Cat Arias. And see what you're doing now. Again, you're talking not just about the people that we all know, and but like the Alma Latinas, but it is the people like Cat Arias and Ferocity that are part of that newer generation, in my eyes, that really are pushing the boundaries. That really
Absolutely.
are. They're really about inclusion because there was so much good about our scene, and I believe when it comes to creativity,
Mm-hmm.
it is very true that the creativity, in my perspective, definitely dipped because, in my eyes, a lot of people didn't want to learn. They just wanted to, and I said this in my interview. A lot of people, and I saw it was they saw these famous groups that we always loved, and how me and you and others would watch. There was other people really just doing homework and
Oh.
saying, "This is what I need to do in order to get the applause."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really not going to focus on training. I'm just going to take what I like and then do something, but didn't realize it was people like us that were going to look at you and be like, that doesn't seem original to me.
Yeah.
That seems like something I saw before. And the more and more we saw our famous groups that we loved and we adored it and we cherished it for what it was, there was always another part of the element of our scene that was more about, all right, let's take what they do and let's add a few more things and people are going to like us more.
Yeah.
And that's what I think was a big issue. I mean, for me, to see you go from art in motion, then you did the work in Arizona, then you came back and you went back to art in motion, and you were going back to a person like Darlin, that again he's built an amazing reputation for himself. Like,
Yeah, man, an empire pretty much for himself here in New Jersey. It's the thing about Darlin is, you know, if you know him or if you get a chance to dance with him, he the same energy he gives you on the dance floor is the same energy he gives you off the dance floor.
yes.
And it's such a contagious energy and an inspiring energy because he'll joke with you, he'll kid with you, but at the same time he'll get a point across so that you learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not only that, he's been the one to push me out when I needed to be out.
Yes. He's had to give you that tough love.
Yeah, and it's happened. You know what I mean? And I accept it. I respect him for that. And if he didn't, I wouldn't have grown and got back to where I am. Because certain times you're missing practices or you're just not showing up and you're being lazy and talent is everything. Everyone's replaceable, man. And I was being young, I was being, wild. I was just like, all right, well, I'll be all right. If I miss this rehearsal, I'll go next rehearsal. And then I show up next rehearsal and guess what? You're not performing.
Yep.
You're not getting on stage. You're not getting on stage. Or you know what? You're suspended. You can come back to the team when you show me that you're reliable enough to do things. And there was maybe a year that I was the most unreliable dancer as far as, being there on time, doing the things I needed to do. And it was just the worst time. I was going through a real rough time in my life. You know what I mean? Separation problems and stuff like that. And then everything, he got me out of that way. And then he brought me back on, but as a friend. He got me away from the studio and he just took me to his, we met at his house and we just talked. And he gave me that brotherly love. If not many people know, he's a church man. He is a man of God. He is big in the church community.
Mm.
And he's really an inspiration, man. If you get a chance to talk to him, he doesn't just talk about dance all the time. He pertains everything you do to dance in some type of way of your life, and you build from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is, just like I've talked to a gentleman named Leo Figueroa from the Baltimore area, that is another person that really is, he has his life in spirituality.
Yeah,
You know, he realizes that, hey, I can dance, but there's also something else that's calling me.
absolutely.
You know, and I think again, all of us as dancers, when we take away the dance shoes and we take away the stage, again,
Yeah.
we all bleed the same. We
Yep.
all have emotions. We all go through things internally, and a lot of us dance can be an escape.
Absolutely.
You know, and we also then realize that there may come a point when I have to take a step back,
Yeah, and
and that's okay.
yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I was getting a little nervous about that part because I don't really like, I don't really put my. I'm not someone to put my business out there. I don't really put my.
Absolutely.
So, for that's why it is what it is. But anyway, I was unreliable, and that's the thing about it. You got to learn that when you're that type of dancer and you need to step away, you got to be responsible enough to step away, and realize that you're being that way for a reason. You gotta separate yourself from everything that you're doing, take a second, breathe, and build back into everything one step at a time. You can't just jump back into everything at once. So, when I took my break and I realized that he was doing it out of love, and he was just showing me that I need to focus on my life in general.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That hits me, that gets me to what you're saying, because it is important that people understand, like Carlos was explaining to people, he had to step away for a little bit. And Carlos is actually one of my really close personal friends. I've hung out with him. We've gone to Coastline together. I have videos dancing bachata with him, all that stuff. That is my boy. So, like, you get what I'm saying? So he understands. So it's very important that, sometimes you got to realize to just step away, because dancing isn't always going to fix things. You know what I mean? It could cause a little bit more problems and stress on yourself as well, because you think that's the getaway. But once you leave,
those problems are still going to hit you.
Exactly. So you got to focus and hit those problems first.
And definitely, at least before we get into after the art in motion and you going into your solo career, there was a topic that you brought to my attention previously about equal opportunities. So this is something I definitely want you to touch on, at least before we get towards the present and the future.
Okay. Absolutely. So with me, equal opportunities with everything. I feel as if one thing that was spoken on is views are important. A lot of people go off views now. Like a lot of these performances that are hired are based off of Instagram views or the platform of how many people see them. But you don't realize there's a whole nother world of platform that there's these people train for a whole year to just go to one event to literally win one trophy against thousands of people. And there's first place champions that aren't even getting hired as much as these people are.
It's a reality, unfortunately. I mean,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when it comes to equal opportunities, I just feel as if, the newer generation that's coming up, we have to be open-minded and also give them that open door in order for them to walk through, and not even say to take over, but just you got to show them the platform yourself. You got to teach them to let them know, because we're not going to be able to be running this forever. These legends, I'm watching Eddie Torres and all these people still now trying to figure out like some of the footwork they're doing themselves. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are they? I'm still struggling trying to figure out some of this. So you got to just stay open-minded and creative, and let this new generation teach you as well. Don't just be closed-minded and stick to the people that we know are going to work for us, because there's a lot of people that could literally that don't even get the opportunity to even take a workshop or a class that we've never seen before dance, and they're probably better than half of the world champions out there in Dominican bachata or stuff like that. You get traditional style dancing. There's little kids that I've seen in Dominican Republic that are better dancers than me, barefoot in the sand, literally barefoot in the sand. but they would never get the same opportunity I have, or the views that half the people do.
Mm-hmm.
You
No,
get what I'm saying?
absolutely.
So it's important. When I've talked to Alataka and stuff like that. Alamana and Ataka, and they've gone out to see them go out and do stuff in Dominican Republic where they're giving donations, bachatu, for sure, donations, to the DR and the kids that are in poverty there and stuff like that. Like, those are the events that people, are amazed by. It's not all about, hiring what's best for this and that. He was bringing artists there as far as just singers, just so people could dance. Like, there was just what, I don't remember who it was, but there was a different artist every night, correct?
Yes. I've been to Bachatu, and they're definitely amazing because they bring some of the favorite artists that we know as bachateros in the game, but also they're bringing the people from the hometown.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean by equal opportunity. There's a lot of people that don't even get opportunities in their own town because of other people that are getting hired. And that's just a little, that's how I feel. I mean, that's not the way it should go, but that's just the way I feel on it. You know what I mean?
Well, to be honest with you, I do agree, because I think it really, the people we call legends, not all of them, but some of them could have been really selfish and didn't understand that, hey, you got these other kids here who are the newer generation coming up, and maybe you should have took that time to talk to them. Maybe you should have took the time to reach out to them, because now some of these newer generations, or the new generation of before, are now the generation of now, and some of them, honestly, then they attribute that same selfishness.
Absolutely. I could tell you, I'm not going to name them out, but I have a handful of congresses that I've been to that I can tell you I only know a few of the promoters, because I barely got to speak to any, you know what I mean? And I've been hired to these events. Wow. It's like, you're hiring these artists, but I haven't conversated with some of these people, and it's like, you don't get hired next year, and you don't get hired beyond that, and you just get cut off. And it's like, well, I didn't even get to talk to these people, or build a connection, because it's not all about skill and talent. You got to be able to promote yourself out on the social floor as well, and bring these people to the event. It's not just about talent. You have to be able to draw people in attention wise. You get what I mean?
No, you're absolutely right. Because even yesterday, when I had the conversation with the UK group Sinfiltro, was that Saul even talked about how to have an artist as a promoter, to have an artist come in and basically come almost late, or it's just the approach, the interaction wasn't positive.
Yeah.
And these artists too that don't have the best reputation of being on time, or even socializing with the dancers afterwards, and basically just leaving the event, getting their money and leaving.
Yeah.
That is a really bad statement.
Absolutely.
That is you burning a bridge and burning a relationship that ultimately could really help you. And I think what you're saying, again, is amazing, is positive, is honest, and is needed, because the same thing you're talking about, I've had conversations with people about. So what you're saying is not wrong. It's through your experience, because someone else maybe didn't go through that experience, but they're not you.
Yeah. I try to give every single promoter that I've ever, got hired by, not even just got hired by. There's promoters that I've seen events just on Facebook that I'm like, that's lit. That many people showed up. I forgot where I was going with that.
No, you were talking about just like, I guess, so many promoters and so many people that you've seen.
Oh yeah, I thank them, just because you got to realize also that they are bringing this huge platform that if they didn't bring, we wouldn't be able to show off or showcase these talents to all these promoters that show up to these events. Because it's not just artists and students. You got to remember, there's other promoters that show up to these events to watch these shows, to see who they're hiring as well. So to be able to watch, to have them there and understand that, you always have to bring the same professionalism, because it's not just about that one show or you just getting your money and walking out. There's other people there. So you must thank everybody that brings that type of stage or platform to our community, because without them, man, there wouldn't be 30 show nights with social dancing till 6 a.m.
Yeah.
you'd be done at 1:30 a.m. 2 a.m. every night. It'd be done, and it's just once or twice a week that you get to go out. We wouldn't have these huge events, hotels and stuff sold out. You know what I mean? They're investing before they even get any return.
Absolutely, because I know now I went from being a dancer to being a media team member, and I'm working with these promoters and organizers closer.
Mm-hmm.
So they're letting me know how the figures work.
Yeah.
And most events, you don't get a return until after 3 years.
That's crazy.
And the thing is, some artists don't understand that, because a lot of times what I think what needs to happen to really conclude this topic is promoters now need to work with artists directly, closer. We also, I think what Saul said was, hey, maybe we don't need 30 artists a night to provide a amazing show. And this is coming from a performer. Yeah. Because I also know performers that when we go to congresses and we see 30, 40 shows,
we're like, oh my God.
They're like, and it's the truth. And it's nothing. That just means we have so many great companies, but the attention span
is just, it's not there.
It's true, you know? And I think this is also now a great transition towards a conclusion, is really what has Rob been doing after Art in Motion? How has the solo career been? And what really are the future plans for yourself?
So what I've been doing is I honestly have just been taking it in. I've been training myself at home. I've been taking multiple online classes. My girlfriend Karina as well. I'm sure you see her in all my pictures and videos. We try to stay out of all business, all extra stuff, and just hang out and grow with each other. She's also a dancer, a social dancer, trying to, get out there and do her thing. We have 3 kids at the house. Sometimes, most of the time we have 2, because my daughter Sione goes between my house and her mother's house. If you don't know, Jose Maldonado, they're together. So he's one of the instructors out in PA as well. So I'm just thinking right now we're going to probably just, continue moving forward with the way we've been doing. We've been doing privates. I just started back in the studio with Darlin tonight, which was a great night. I haven't been back into the studio talking to him, just seeing how things are going to go through. So that's maybe looking up. I'm not putting any stamp on it yet, but, working with Art in Motion again would be good. Working with yourself, which we've, well, maybe one day.
No. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm going to let you know this, and I'm letting everybody know, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, when I do come back into this dance scene, I promise I will be doing a routine with you. That is it.
I'm with you. I already told you we will travel to New York just to practice, bro. We will make that happen. But and then I'm going to continue, doing my solo things. The solo thing has been going well. It's kind of hard, being a solo artist as a male, not ever really having a partner besides being with Art in Motion, going out on my own just with Rob Grisko and trying to get hired at these events or go and travel and do it. It's been rough, but the journey has been amazing. And believe it or not, I've been blessed with the gigs that I've been, that have brought forth to me. I've been hired to a lot of events being a solo dancer, which has been a great opportunity. And right now, man, I'm just going to continue to grow. I'm going to continue to train hard. And, I'm going to continue to look to not only do things with myself as a solo artist, but do things more with Darlin and people like yourself. Because I feel like we need that connection. And I think a lot more artists should be working with each other, because man, the routines would be out of this world. I think if more people just came together and just did routines for fun with each other, you know what I mean? Just for fun. Even like at the congresses that we used to do, they used to just come up with like performances in like 4 or 5 hours and perform it that night. Some of the artists, like all the legends, would come up together, come up with something and perform it that night or whatever, or the weekend. So, I mean, I like those little moments. I feel like I want to bring those moments back. So like coming back with Darlin, coming back and trying to do things with you, that's the way I feel like I'll grow. That's the way I'll get out there. Because as far as the money wise, we've all had the money wise tasted, but I'm not in this for this. I would rather train somebody that wants to learn because they want to go to world championships and they want to train. and they want to work hard, or they want to be the best social dancer that they can be because they just want to be comfortable on the dance floor and look like it's, effortless, just doing what they want to do. So I'm just going to continue training and teaching, and hopefully, we get out there and continue doing big things and
Absolutely.
get at a PA with it,
Absolutely. And again, it's people like yourself that I've been able to know in this scene that really are just genuine, because we realize that being genuine is really a rare trait nowadays, because we realize a lot of our dancers are in it ultimately for selfish reasons. And I get it. It's okay to be selfish, but in reality, when you are dancing and you are performing, what are your true intentions? And I'm not saying you, but I'm saying for those people.
No, absolutely. Just remember why you got into this, because you didn't get into it to teach at first.
Yes.
You got into it because you wanted to dance.
Absolutely. And for me, it's like just to see how much you've grown, to see how much Darlin specifically and Michael Andino and Barbara Capaldi have been able to instill in you, to have you appreciate this art form, this sport, and to see how much you've grown from this, and to see how much you cherish it and you respect it, and you're training still, because that's the most important thing we have to realize. As a dancer, you'll never stop learning.
Oh man, I would lose it. I would look crazy if you didn't. I mean, I'm sure Eddie Torres, the legend, even sits there and does, his own shines and stuff just to get things prepared, like everyone. So I mean, learning is every day. And if we don't have that learning aspect, man, we're never going to grow. We're never going to move forward. We're going to stay stagnant. That's the way you're going to be.
Absolutely. At least, before we at least conclude this interview, because it's really been great, and I got to learn a lot more about you, a lot more about what you really feel, what's right and what's been wrong in our scene for so long.
It's been good catching up with you, brother.
Absolutely. At least before we go, I would love for you to give myself, but also the audience, your contact information of how they can reach you.
Absolutely. All right. So actually, I'm on Instagram. It would be at Rob Grisko, Grisko. Same thing with Facebook. And you could also reach out to me, email robgrisco@gmail.com. But yeah, man, it was good. It's just good catching up with you, brother. It's been a while, and it's good to understand the aspect, because we both came from that era growing up at the same time, and we both want the same thing for the scene. So
absolutely. It's been a pleasure being able to reconnect with you, and this is what it's about. We're not able to see each other physically at the moment, but being able to reminisce and really go back with the memories and seeing how far it's gotten both of us, because again, I started as a dancer, a media person, now having this platform, and being able now to share it with you, but being able to have people see you in as a human being besides the dancer. That's what's important, because, I tell a lot of my guests too, a lot of times when you come to think about it, how many people just really ask to see how you're doing? And it's a rarity.
I'll tell you, I have more people. If I go out to a social, I have more people ask me about how I did something on the dance floor than how I'm doing.
And again, with my platform, it is about starting the conversations. It is about, rewiring or unlearning and relearning things you've done, because with this type of platform I have, I'm able to help other people connect with dancers on a deeper level.
Yeah.
So they kind of have more of a glimpse of who you are, and again, I truly thank you for coming on. And like I tell everybody that comes on, this is our first interview.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not going to be our last. I promise you. I want you back on this platform later this year for sure, so you can let me and the audience know what you have in store.
I would love to catch up with you, Diamond. Trust me, it was an honor to even be put onto that list with so many legends and people you have interviewing, man. I appreciate you, not only as a person, but your growth in the scene and as brother. You know what I mean? Continue doing what you're doing, all right?
Thank you, man. Because as you call me a legend, you are a legend in my eyes. Because again, we are some of the rare people in this scene that are still around and doing it for the right reasons. So, and I believe that the legends that we look up to, that's what they were trying to do, and that they are doing still. So, I definitely thank you so much for coming on. I want you to definitely stay safe. I hope you and your family stay safe, and we will definitely come back on together one day.
Always, brother. I'll talk to you out on the other side. It was great, discussing with everyone. I hope everyone stays safe in these times. Make sure, cover yourself, and keep it limited, all right? No socials.
All right. Definitely no socials. For now, no socials.
Yeah.
Yes, brother, man. It's so good to hear from you, see the smile, and take care, my friend.
All right, stay safe.
Everyone, bye.